Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Nut House. If you're new here, my name is Cynthia, and we like to share a little bit of our life here living in Georgia. Well, recently we went to Woodbury, Georgia, to the shed at Fitzgerald Farms, and we picked up some peaches, 100 pounds of peaches to be exact, but they were only $28. So we're still working on peaches today, and today we're doing a peach Melba jam. Now let me just say, that jam is so good. You need to try it. So I'm going to start by peeling my peaches, and I'm doing that by cutting them in half and then taking out the pit, and I'm going to slice them up. Now if you want to, you can get a stock pot or a pot of water boiling, and then you can drop the peaches in there and put them in a nice bath, and the skin supposed to just slip off like a tomato. But I didn't do that today, or for any of these videos actually. I hand peeled them, which wasn't too bad, but with 100 pounds it was a lot of peeling. So here in Georgia, it has been super hot. I mean, like 90s, with a heat index is even higher than that. And the humidity, of course, is outrageous. So our garden has finally come to an end. It's sad because I'm going to miss my Cherokee purple tomatoes the most, and my fresh cucumbers that I can get every day. But I still have time. If I wanted to plant some cucumbers, I could still get in a crop of cucumbers. I'm not sure I'm going to, though. I have some hot peppers still, and some of my mild peppers. They're still producing well. And then I planted a few, I think 2 plants of delicata squash. I wanted to try that out. But to be perfectly honest with you, I am so tired from this season's garden. I have been canning and freezing and working in the garden for so long. I'm actually ready for a break. Today I picked some peppers, and we canned some, or I should say I canned some jalapeno pepper jelly, and it had some mammoth peppers, peppercini, chili peppers, just whatever peppers I had on my raised bed. Now that 32 plants in that raised bed really is producing the peppers, and I will dry them and freeze some, dry them for pepper powder. I do all kinds of things with peppers, and one of them is the pepper jelly, and I'll have a video coming up of that. It is delicious as well, over some cream cheese with some crackers. It would make a great homemade gift, or even if you're going to any holiday get-togethers or you're having any gatherings, that would make a great appetizer. So that would be a good use of your peppers if you still have them coming in. Now, I don't know if I've mentioned on the last video or not, but if you were to get organic peaches, or peaches that you grew yourself and you knew there weren't any sprays on them, you can take the seeds and the peelings and you can make a jelly out of it, so nothing goes to waste. Mine are going to my chickens, so they're really not going to waste either, because they're going to turn them into some eggs for me. But that is a good way to use up. Some people also make vinegar out of them. I've never tried that, but you know, that's something to look into if you have a bunch of peaches to use. Now we're going to put the peaches in my blender. You could use a food processor, anything that will blend them up. I'm looking to blend them up really well, not to the point, I mean, it's okay if you have a little bit of peaches chunks in it, but I want to get it, you know, not big chunks whatsoever. I'm going to grind all of these up, or blend all of these up, and then we're going to put them in my pot, and then we'll move on to the next thing. So in the meantime, I have my steam canner on high, and I also have my jars. I'm using pint jars, but you can use jelly jars, pints. I wouldn't go above a pint, but I have them sterilizing in the canner, and you can see that here. And the next thing we're going to do is add our pectin, and I'm using 3/4 cup of powder pectin. Now I got this from Amazon, but you can get Sure Gel, and you can even do this with liquid pectin. But we're using just the fruit pectin. I think it came from Hoosier Farms. We're going to add that in here and stir it up. Now, peach Melba jam has raspberries in it, so I went ahead and bought some frozen raspberries because the fresh ones might ruin before I actually got to canning this. So I brought the frozen ones, and they worked fine. Now, I did have to add a little bit of the peaches back into the blender, and you'll see me make a big mess with that. But that was just because the raspberries were cold, and they wanted to make like an icy, so I needed them to incorporate, and so I added just some of that peach back in there, and that did the trick. Now the recipe called for 3 pounds of peaches, but I didn't count them. I just did what I felt my heart felt in my heart would be enough. But if you're following the exact recipe, it would be 3 cups or about 3 pounds. And also for the raspberries, it said about a cup, but I added the whole package. I think it might be 12 ounces because they've shrank, the packages. They're not a pound anymore. But we're going to get that into the peach pectin mixture and stir that together. Here I'm going to add about a tablespoon of butter, and this is just going to decrease the foam. You do not have to add that, and I maybe wouldn't if I didn't have any butter laying right there in front of me, but that way I don't have to skim the foam off. And if you want your jelly to have foam on it, you can just can it that way. It's not going to hurt it. Now I have this mixture on the stove, and I'm going to bring it up to a full rolling boil. So in this recipe, like I said, you can use powdered pectin or liquid pectin. Now powdered pectin, if you buy it in bulk, it will last longer. It has a longer shelf stability than the liquid pectin, but you can use whichever one you have. The difference is powdered pectin is usually mixed with the crushed fruit before heating, and the liquid pectin is added to the cooked fruit and the sugar mixture after it has been cooked, like at the end. And a lot of times, like with my jalapeno jelly, you add it off the heat. So on this recipe, of course, I'm using powdered pectin, so that's why I'm heating it to start with the pectin. So what are your favorite jams or jellies? I love strawberry. That would be my favorite, but I think this peach Melba would be in a tie for it because it is delicious. Of course, I love like raspberry flavored things, but I don't really like raspberries that are just from the store. For some reason, they're a little much, but this is delicious. When I was growing up, I think we only had grape jelly. I didn't really believe, or I didn't even know there was anything but grape jelly. And I would say the grape jelly is probably my least favorite. But I have made grape jelly or apple jelly from just juice that you buy at the store. And it's really simple and really cheap. And that makes a good like jelly. But I much prefer jams. They're thicker and fruitier and they spread better. And, you know, that's my preference. Now, with any jam or jelly, you will be surprised at how much sugar it takes. But just remember that you're not eating a cup of this. You're only eating a small amount, less than a teaspoon on your toast, if that. My husband adds way more. I'm thinking, my goodness, you're going to eat the whole jar. But I only do like a little sliver because I don't want it that sweet. Now we're going to get ready to add the sugar, and it's a lot, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you it's 7¼ cups of sugar. I know it's a lot, but that's what preserves it. Now I do hear that you can use like Pomona's pectin and all of that, and that's fine if you know how to use that, but I've never tried it, and maybe I will try it, but it's kind of expensive, so I haven't tried it yet. But we're going to add 7¼ sugar back into this mixture, and we're going to bring it back up to a rolling boil. You'll notice when you add this sugar, it becomes almost shiny, glass-like. And so we're just going to keep stirring this until it comes to a full rolling boil, which means that it's boiling so hard that when I stir it, I can't make it stop. So you see here, I'm stirring it and I can get it to stop. But once it reaches that full rolling boil, you can't get it to stop. And this is where a bigger pot would be better, because it'll start spitting and splattering, and that sugar mixture is super, super hot, and it is, you know, it'll burn you. So be very careful when you're doing this, and use a bigger pan than you actually think you might need. And you're going to want to stir this continually. Don't walk away from it for very long, if that, because sugar will burn. And also make sure that your pot is a heavy bottom pot. You can't use that thin aluminum, you know, pans, because it will scorch and burn, and then it will ruin the whole jam or jelly. And even when I'm making, you know, like banana pudding or some kind of cream based dessert or whatever, I prefer a thick bottom pot, and you can find them a lot of times at the thrift store. That's where I found this one. That's why you may notice that it has two different handles on it, because one of the handles broke, so I ordered just a different handle to put on it because I like it that much. But I do need a bigger jam pot, and maybe one day I'll get me one of those. So as you see here, it's been at a full rolling boil, and it's going to go 4 minutes this way. And I'm going to put my timer on and time it for that exact time. That way it will thicken properly, hopefully. And then once that full rolling boil is finished for 4 minutes, I'm going to take it off the heat, and now we're going to jar it up. And it's pretty much like any jam that you do. The sterilized jars are hot. The jelly is super hot, and my canner will be ready in hot water. Now this is a steam canner, so the bottom part is filled with water, but if you're doing a water bath, you know, it needs to be hot water already in there, and you probably would already have that because you were sterilizing your jars. And some people sterilize them in the oven on like 250 degrees for 30 minutes or so and bring them out, and then they're sterilized that way. It just depends on what you want to do. But we're going to fill it up to the bottom lip of that jar, and then we'll clean the rims with some vinegar and a paper towel, and we want to make sure any of this sticky stuff is off because it'll cause my seal to fail, and we don't want that. So we're going to put the seals on, and then we'll get them back into the canner. Now, when I have the lids and the rings on, they're going to go back in the canner for 10 minutes. And that's all it's going to take to process these jars. So they'll go in the canner for 10 minutes, then I'll bring them out, and they're going to sit on my counter for 24 hours. And then I'm going to check the seal by taking the ring off and then lifting the lid with my fingertips, and if it didn't seal, it's going to come right off, and then you'll just need to put that in the refrigerator or the freezer, or you can reprocess it, but that's going to require you heating it up and doing all of this over again, which might not be worth it for you. It just depends. So these will come out, and then I will put them in my storage. So I just want to remind you that if you have a working kitchen, you can see all the splatters and the spills and the jelly sticky. If you have a working kitchen, it's not going to be spotless, and you can tell a person's kitchen if it's a working kitchen or if it's just for show. And mine is definitely a working kitchen, so I do clean it, after each session, but don't expect you to keep it perfectly clean while you're trying to preserve food or even cook food for your family. Of course, you see that in Pinterest worthy episodes on YouTube and stuff, but it's just not reality. The reality is that things are going to get dirty, and then you're going to have to clean them, and that's perfectly okay. Not only is the kitchen going to get dirty, but you're going to get dirty too. You see my apron is just covered in water and juice and jam. So don't believe some of the videos that you see that have a perfectly curated home, and they're making jams and jellies in frilly beautiful dresses, summer dresses, and nothing is wrong and nothing is splattering all over you, and it just looks so perfect because it's fake. So just know that this is real life here. There's nothing fake about this. My apron is filthy from this process. I've been canning all day peaches, and that's just the reality of being a mom and being a home cook and a home canner. So don't feel like you have to be in your sundress and look gorgeous and beautiful when you're doing this. Just do the work. Your family will be thankful. Thank you all for watching, and thank you all for subscribing to my channel. It really helps us out so much. I hope to see you on the next video.